Hello everybody, I'm Imogen from Clifton Sky Yoga, and today I'm going to be talking through the Vinyasa sequence. So a Vinyasa is a short flowing sequence that we repeat several times throughout a Vinyasa or Ashtanga yoga class. It's great for keeping the blood flowing around the body to keep us warm, especially if we've been holding poses for a little while. And also the repetitive nature of it can be really nice to build a kind of moving meditation. Also, it's really good for building strength and flexibility in the body. So we've got two main variations we can take with our Vinyasa. Either we lower through Ashtangasana and come up into a baby cobra back bend, or we lower through Chaturanga Dandasana, a low plank, and then we come up into our upward facing dog, which is a stronger back bend. Neither one of these variations is better or worse than the other. They're just different things and they work the body in different ways. So we're going to work through each one and understand how they're different and what we need to work on to achieve them well. So first I'll just demonstrate the two options, and you're welcome to practice these with me. We'll just move through them without much guidance. So we're starting in downward facing dog. Pressing the hands down into the mat and lifting the hips. We're going to lift the heels up and roll through into a high plank. From here, for our first option, we're going to lower knees, chest and chin to the mat, Ashtangasana. Then we're going to slide forwards and find our way up into baby cobra. From here, we can tuck the toes, lift the hips, press back, finding downward facing dog. For our second option, we lift the heels once more and we roll forwards. We're now going to use the feet to press the body weight slightly further forwards and then lower with the elbows tucked. From here we scoot backwards and then forwards with the hips, pressing up into upward facing dog. Then we can press with the hands, scoot the core and lift up and back into downward facing dog, walking over the toes. If you've been doing it with me, you can drop your knees and take a seat. So, there's some key differences between these two options. If we lower into Ashtangasana, which is what it means an 8-limbed pose. So we've got lots of different pieces on the floor, trying to bring them to the floor at once. This is all about control and coordination. So we want to be working on allowing the knees to hit the floor at the same moment as the chin and the chest. So we're going to play with that. So bring yourself up into a high plank. Make sure that you've got a nice straight line between shoulders, hips and heels. Not dropping the hips, not sticking them in the air. And then I want you to really focus on your core and your arm strength. That's going to help you to control this lower all in one piece. The elbows tuck in by the sides and the bum sticks up in the air. And then you can slide to the floor. A really good way to practice this is to actually lower the knees first, untuck the toes, and then just work on the controlled lowering of your chin and your chest, sticking the bum in the air. Once you're feeling confident with that, you can play around with keeping the knees up and lowering all in one piece. From here, we're going to take our baby cobra. So we want to really draw the shoulders open here, and the hands not to be doing very much at all. You're going to lift your head, your chest and your shoulders, trying to keep them in a nice line. Engage your glutes and engage the muscles in your back. Your hands should not really be doing very much at all. You could even lift them off to see whether they're working for you. You can then lower everything to the floor, tuck the toes, lift the hips, and find downward facing dog. Take a few breaths here. If we're going to take a chaturanga, we've got a different intention here. We're going to be working the strength of the upper body. So we're going to lift the heels and roll forwards to our plank as usual. Now what you want to do is draw the shoulders so that they're slightly in front of the wrists, only so far as the wrists are happy with. So you're going to press with the toes, and you can practice this action, pressing forwards and back with the toes in your high plank. Just take that for a moment. Okay, now pause when you're forwards, and you're going to draw the elbows in by the sides and lower down towards the floor. only halfway. Then press with your hands to scoot slightly backwards to reset, and then scoot all the way through and forwards with the hips and the chest, pressing up into your upward facing dog. Your legs are completely off the floor, the hands are pressing into the mat, pushing the floor away from you, and the chest is pressing through between the shoulders. Then you can scoot the core, press the floor away and find downward facing dog. Drop the knees down and then sit back on the heels, take a child's pose or come to sit up. So with our chaturanga, the arm position is really important. So we want to have the arms coming in by the sides with the elbows at a 90-degree angle. This is quite challenging to find, so a good way to practice it is by lowering the knees, as with Ashtanga. So we can lower the knees down and then find that drift forwards and tuck in and press down and up to build strength. Again, you can sit back and find a child's pose. There's different reasons to do these different variations of Vinyasa, as we've been through, but there's also different reasons to do a Vinyasa or not. So we're going to do quite a few usually in a class. You've got to think about whether you want to repeat that same sequence many times. Sometimes the teacher's going to always give you an option, and sometimes you're going to want to take a child's pose and rest. It's often a really good option. It's one that shouldn't be overlooked. And also alternatively, you might want to take the movement but maybe take some of the strength out of it, in which case it's really nice to take a Vinyasa with your knees down. So let's try that too. So you press the hands into the mat, lift the hips, finding downward facing dog. So before we go anywhere, we're going to drop the knees to the floor. Then we're going to press the weight forward so the shoulders come over the wrists. From here, you have two options. You can lower chest and chin in a sort of Ashtangasana and then slide through and find baby cobra. Or you can find half chaturanga, which involves drawing the shoulders past the wrists like we do in our full chaturanga, and then drawing the elbows in by the sides. From there, again, you can lower down, finding baby cobra, and then lower the chest, press up and back but keeping the knees down, finding some shoulder stretch, tucking the toes, lifting the hips, and finding downward facing dog. The other thing that's really important with our Vinyasa is to breathe. And with a Vinyasa, we want to find one breath with one movement. If we connect those two things together, then it can be a really nice and meditative feeling. So I'm going to guide us through two Vinyasas, one with Ashtangasana, one with Chaturanga, and I'll give you the breath cues more than anything else so that you can really focus on that and integrate that into your own practice. So we'll start in downward facing dog. Before we go anywhere, let's take a nice big inhale and exhale. With your inhale, lift the heels and roll forwards into plank. And with your exhale, lower knees, chest and chin, Ashtangasana. Smooth to the floor. With your inhale, find baby cobra. Exhale, lower the chest, tuck the toes, lift the hips, and find downward facing dog. Taking another big breath in and out. Lifting the heels, rolling forwards with your inhale. Exhaling to lower. Inhaling to rock backwards and then forwards into upward facing dog. Exhaling to tuck the toes, lift the hips and find downward facing dog. Dropping the knees down, coming to sit on your heels. I hope that's given you some things to think about and to work on with your Vinyasa. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to drop them in the comments. Otherwise, I hope to see you sometime in class.